Hello, everybody. It's Matt here from pianoblog.com. I want to talk about playing music that's too difficult for wherever you are at. Should you try out pieces that are kind of maybe above your technical level? Should you stick with what's really comfortable? What's the best practice? And this is a question that comes to my mind, especially when I'm working with students who are in those kind of high school years, because you see not all the time, but quite frequently. In those years, you want everything to be fast. You want to play loud. You want to do stuff that's super impressive and kind of showy. And so often you'll get students who are advanced, but maybe not quite ready for stuff that's at the upper echelons of piano technique, but they'll want to try stuff out. And this is something that I kind of have battled with and thought about a lot as a teacher. But I think it's a good idea in general. It really depends on your context, and I think it's worth figuring out where your bias is and kind of working against it or working to balance that bias out. So what I mean by that is there's some pianists, especially students who are maybe more geared towards competitions and things like that, who focus on like one piece for years. I mean, it's just like this very small amount of music. How perfect can I play it? And a lot of times it's amazing how these students can play that music. The problem is they get outside of that music and it's sort of like nothing else exists. Like they'll play one movement of one Beethoven sonata, which is amazing and it should be commended because it's hard to do that. But then, have they even heard any of the other Beethoven sonatas? Have they read through the Beethoven sonatas? Beyond that, it's a slightly different subject, but are they familiar with what was going on in Beethoven's life at the time? Are they familiar with contemporary composers who came before and after, artistic influences, things like that, that would really have a bearing on creating not just someone who can play well, but a true artist? Usually the answer is no, because they're just spending hours and hours a day practicing this one thing. And like I said, it's amazing. I've met students who are 12 years old who play some of these pieces better than could play rings around me. But there's just something lacking, and you kind of see a lot of times that the musicality is not 100% there, because you can teach a lot about, say, play this louder, play this softer, but there's not actual musicality coming from the person. You're not developing the student as a musician because they're so narrowly focused on that one thing. Now, that's a slightly different subject, but that's sort of one phenomenon that you get. That's one side of the spectrum. Then you also get students who want to just play the notes fast, play messy, not perfect anything, and move from piece to piece to piece. And so they never really dig into perfecting something. That's the other end of the spectrum. Now, the benefit to playing a whole lot of pieces I've seen is that you do have a lot more context. You also have better sight reading because you're reading through a lot of music a lot of the times. You're exploring, and you might be developing a little more as an artist in that sense. But the drawback is that you never learn what it's like to really perfect a piece. You never there's a sense, and it's you won't know it until you get there. But there's a sense when you're playing advanced music and it's really kind of performance ready and perfected. It feels way different than I just kind of know the notes and now I'm going to move to this next piece. It's a different animal, and it's important at some point to learn what that feels like, because if you're trying to prepare a piece, you're trying to really work it to the highest level. Once you know what that feels like, you can do that with the next piece. You can kind of continue developing in that direction. So it's important, I think, in other words, to do both things. Now, in terms of just difficulty level, it's sort of the same thing. You have students who, because they never push themselves, they never explore areas, say, of piano technique or difficult passage work or whatever it might be, they never find the boundaries of what they're capable of. And I think that that's super important. It's just also crucial at the same time that you're not constantly trying to do that, because any piano teacher will tell you, if you're constantly playing music that's above your level, especially technically, you're going to develop bad habits because you're sort of going to do whatever it takes to make it work, and often that won't be the most efficient thing, and then you'll just learn what feels correct to you will actually be completely the wrong way of doing things, and it's very, very hard to go back and correct those muscular kind of the feel of that in your body and those movement patterns and muscular habits that you have. That's one reason in my Fundamentals of Technique course that I take so much time kind of going step by step and talking about, okay, this is how we hold the wrist. This is how you can keep your wrist relaxed. Here's some exercises for that. Because a lot of students, especially adults who have come to me who haven't had much training with a teacher before, will have just ingrained the wrong habits because they've jumped too quickly to stuff that's too hard. But if you have a good teacher and you're not doing it all the time, I think it's really worthwhile not only to explore the literature, but maybe to explore some stuff that might be considered a little bit outside of your comfort zone, because that's where you're going to find these different technical elements that you otherwise just wouldn't encounter. So the answer is really, it depends. There's always a context to these sort of things, and you want to figure out where you are on the spectrum. Are you just too scared to try anything, or is everything you do something new, and you're kind of developing this bad habit of never perfecting anything and just jumping from piece to piece? So that's my answer. That's what seems to work best for me, and yeah, I hope you find that helpful in your own practice, no matter where you are in your piano lessons, in your piano study. I hope you find that applicable in some way. So if you like this sort of content, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and also click the bell icon because it'll alert you when I put out videos. And I've also put links below this video down there to free piano lessons, free beginner piano lessons, and my free technique lessons, so you can check those out as well. I'll see you next time.